Hello and welcome to Diegetic Advancement. My name is Riley, and today it's just going to be a bit of an update episode, share some thoughts. I really wanted to get this out and quick after the chainmail episode because I've been sitting on a call from Daniel Norton for quite a while. I should probably get to that before I completely forget about it. And I just have a couple of things I wanted to kind of share and get out of my head. So I will let Daniel take it away first and then jump into the rest.
Hey Riley, Daniel from Bandits, keep calling in. Couple of comments. One is on, I think, 2 episodes ago where you're talking about that you have this urge to not give the experience points for the treasure. I think if they get it without fighting or whatever, it seems too easy, whatever. Can't remember how you phrase it, but I understand that urge, but right. No, I agree with what you ended up doing, which is give it to him anyways. I think that helps. I think I once had a episode where or maybe it's on the podcast, where I talked about this is how you make murder hobos. And right, this is the opposite in a way. This is how you make, if you will, I'm air quoting, players who are smart, players who are clever, players that go around and try to do things that are more interesting, is you let them have experience points, which is the reward for doing that stuff. If you don't, then they will say, if you say, you got 10,000 gold pieces, but worth of treasure, but you only get half the experience points because you didn't defeat the monster. What they're going to do next time is fight the monsters. So if you don't want somebody that just always attacks the monsters, then I think, you got to, you got to give it to them when they get it. And, sometimes it's so great. I love it when my players do this. I always, act upset, but, I love it when they completely trick a monster or an NPC and they overcome them cleverly. In fact, I can think of most of what people might consider big bosses. I don't know. I've run a sandbox, so I don't really have big bosses, but most of the really tough opponents that my players have defeated in this campaign that I've been running, the OD&D campaign, they've done it through trickery and stealth and not through toe-to-toe combat. So that makes me happy because I love that. I love it in reading stories and fiction, and I love it when my players do it.
Thank you very much for the call, Daniel, and for sort of confirming my thoughts and sharing some personal anecdotes there. I think I totally agree. And to give it a little bit of additional context, I can't remember how much I gave in the original episode, but the players, I wasn't going to restrict XP for the treasure, but they were convincing a non-hostile NPC to hand over some treasure, which then would get them XP. And it was, they met them, they said, hello, how you doing? Explained, they gave some sort of compelling reason for why they might want to hand that over, and so they did. And within a couple of minutes of play and no real risk and nothing, they've got a bunch of treasure. And it wasn't huge, so kind of whatever, but it wasn't insignificant. And I'll share another story from our most recent session. No, not the most recent, the one before that. That's in the same way, and I think I've got this maybe this false idea in my head that XP should be, or treasure should be, commensurate with risk. And in a way that's true, but I don't think, what I'm thinking is that I'm interpreting that kind of wrong, in that players need to engage with the risk and overcome the, actually put themselves at risk to get the XP. And no, I think the treasure commensurate with risk is perhaps that's just for adventure design, right? So there's the potential for risk. There's a trap in the way or things like that, right? But if the players don't engage with the risk, they come up with some clever way to avoid it, then they get the treasure anyway. I think that's how it should be, and I need to wrap my head around that. And the funny thing is, I'm about to compliment them for some more smart play, so I'll say that they made a mistake in the same dungeon where they got the treasure nice and easy with just some social play. In the next room over, there's a mural depicting a sword with a very distinctive look, and it's glowing white, obviously magic, or at least I thought. And a statue is holding a sword, a real sword, it's not, carved, with the same distinctive look. They don't grab it, right? So they leave behind a magic sword. So, for as much smart play and overcoming risks and getting treasure, there's plenty of treasure left behind by less smart play. But in this recent session, they're trying to clear out this fort of these evil creatures, right? And they've had one interaction with them already, sort of not a fight, but fairly hostile encounter. they're asking them to leave, and they went, no, you can make us leave, or you can help us. Otherwise, we're not going anywhere. Right? So they've left that alone for a little bit. And maybe I should have progressed it in the world, because some time's passed. But anyway, I didn't. And they've come back, and they came back with a plan, because these monsters have been fairly relaxed. They're drinking, they're partying, and whatnot. And that's kind of meant to be an advantage for the player characters. But they took that one step further. They went to town and bought a bunch of alcohol. And we're playing Dolmenwood. And so there's a list of alcohol and its various effects. So there's some alcohol that induces sleep or drowsiness. So they buy a bunch of that and stage a sort of a cart that's been attacked or something, and it's sort of toppled over, and there's all this booze that's been left. They lay that out along the old track that leads to this fort that they're trying to clear out, and they wait. And I roll some dice to see how long it will take and see if anything happens in that intervening time. Nothing does, and eventually the creatures find it, they take it back, and they stake it out. Eventually, they all fall asleep, having indulged, and the players can just walk in and get rid of them. Again, they don't get any treasure from that, but they kind of diffuse the whole situation that's in the fort. They get rid of the bulk of the risk, and then they can kind of walk through and deal with the rest of the fort and get the treasure that's in there fairly easily. Again, clever play. There's a instinct in me that is like, yeah, but I just rolled some dice and they drink the alcohol, and okay, you've avoided it all. But again, going back to that, I think I've got this false idea. I think I'm doing a good job at ignoring the impulse. But yeah, I need to do some further work and thinking on that to cement it. Anyway, thank you very much for the call, Daniel. I don't think I missed anything from your call, and I kind of just went off on a tangent. But I really appreciate you listening and calling in. So thanks for that. Okay, then I want to talk a little bit about the show in general, the podcast. I'm obviously not being very consistent, and there's large gaps in content, and I'm also not producing the type of content that I want to. I'm really enjoying the chainmail read through. I'm going to continue that, but I kind of want to do other things. But even that, I'm only getting. I can't even keep that up regularly. So I need to rethink some things, revisit some of my goals and the structure. But I was listening to an episode of a new podcast, The Dungeon Plunger. Go check that out. The link to that will be in the show notes, along with Daniel's YouTube channel and his podcast he does with KR. Please go check those out. They're fantastic content. But yeah, I was listening to this new podcast about the Dungeon Plunger. Jason Weeb is the host. Really, really good, high quality, interesting topics. I think you'd be silly not to listen. And it kind of struck a thought with me. It was completely unrelated, but he was talking about kind of being introspective, I guess, or just thinking about being purposeful in thinking about stuff. And that kind of got me on a weird mood about thinking about stuff. And I'll probably produce an episode on this. But what I realized is that I'm a serial procrastinator, and I'm really bad. And that's not just with my hobby, although it is an issue with my hobby, but just generally in life. And what I've found, the best way to tackle it is that when I need to do something, just do it straight away. As soon as I postpone it even a little bit, I don't do it. And, that's as simple as things like chores. I'll notice that the floor's a little bit dirty, needs a vacuum. Okay, I'll do that a little bit later. And then I don't do it. And the same thing with the podcast. Oh yeah, I need to start reading the next section of Chainmail. Okay, I'll do that after whatever. And then I don't do it. And then I go, oh, crap, it's been a week, and I'm behind. So there's that. So I'm making a conscious effort to do things as they come up. Right, as I think of them, just get it done. Now that isn't terribly effective all the time. Right, there's some things that you can't do as they pop into your head. In the middle of work, something's going to pop in my head for an episode or something like that, and I can't do that. Right, I'm working. So in addition to that, I need to start to put some structure around my day. I think setting aside time at a specific time to do what I need to do for my hobby. And need is probably too strong a word. What I want to do. Right, I enjoy doing this stuff, so it's very much self-sabotage when I don't do it. And in addition, it's not just the podcast, it's prep for my game and running it and doing things for the Anchorite APA, stuff that I want to do additionally, on top of all that stuff as well. So I don't have anything to share on that at the moment, but that's kind of where I'm at the moment. I'm lazy, procrastinating, and I'm making a conscious effort to fix that. See if that works, and I'll probably share some thoughts on it, because I think my experience is probably not unique, and maybe I'll come up with something that's helpful. On that, one thing that I do want to do, because I want to put out more content, is I think I'm just going to start to do some podcast episodes that are a little bit more off the cuff, right? I'll come up with an idea, and instead of shelving it and putting it off for later, and then, as I said, never getting to it, I will tackle that as it comes up, right? I get some fairly consistent free time, right, that I can do these things. I got some time in the mornings after I drop off my daughter, before I start work, to record things. I've got my lunchtime, and then I've got in the evenings when my wife and daughter have gone to bed. So whenever I think up something, I can just put that in a slot, as long as I haven't filled that slot up with some other sort of plan. But if I set aside a little bit of time each day to do that, I think I will. And I'll just record my thoughts, and I'll either collate that into a weekly episode or just put it out, depending on sort of how much content I get out of a random thought. So yeah, I'm definitely rambling at this point, but again, I quite find it quite useful to talk out loud, and it's probably not terribly compelling to listen to, but there you go. And in the spirit of that, that's kind of what I wanted to quickly get to Daniel's call, because I've been letting that sit for too long, and I've been thinking about I've got my game tomorrow, regular Dolmenwood fortnightly game tomorrow, so I've been thinking about rewards and things like that, and that is unfortunately coming very close to an end. I think we maybe have 3 sessions left before my kid is born. Second kid is born. 3. So I think we've just kind of started an adventure that they're going to go down, and so we might get some sort of satisfying conclusion. Obviously not to a campaign, because I don't think you can end. Well, there are some definite ends to Dolmenwood that you could strive for, but we're not at this stage. But we'll wrap up a bit of a story thread that's kind of gone through most of what we've played so far. It's kind of they got a hook very early on, and they've kind of pursued that, and it's led them here. So yeah, all right. Well, thanks very much for listening to me babble on about where I'm at and what I'm thinking about, and hopefully you'll see the rewards of me being a little bit more disciplined with my hobby, other stuff. So I appreciate you listening. Thanks for your time, and bye for now.